Most things on the internet are going to be somewhat speculative when it comes to AI because of the nature of the fact that so much about it is very unknown.
Hi, I'm Ronit Novak, and this is The Grain. So we are drowning in AI hot takes. Just scroll through your feed. You're going to find it's either jump all into AI now because you're already behind, or it's AI is evil and it's going to ruin everything that you love. But here is the thing, the truth, the stuff that's really worth talking about, it's almost never at either of those extremes. It's in that space somewhere in between. That's the nuance that sparks real conversation. And that's exactly where Matt Vandrick spends his time. Matt is a creative technologist, he's a cultural commentator, he's a design leader, and a graduate of the Parsons School of Design. So I first came across Matt's work on Instagram. I was scrolling through, and then he has these bright, bold visuals that really stopped me in the middle of my scroll. And then I started reading. He has posts like UX design versus screen time, or on the human touch in an AI world. There's one that really did catch my attention, though, and it was this: why opinions are a dying currency in the AI era. See, Matt, he's not selling fear. He's not selling certainty. He's just asking better questions. He's showing both sides of the coin, and he's willing to do it in public, where it's messy, where you actually might get it wrong. And his tagline says it all. It's, I don't follow trends, I interrogate them, because hype without substance bores me. So in this episode, AI versus your opinion, we talk about what it means to learn out loud. Why saying I don't know can actually make people trust you more. And how technology, it doesn't just change the tools in our hands, it changes how we live, how we think, and how we even see ourselves. So that's the same space that I hold here on The Grain, and maybe that's why Matt and I connected right away. We're both drawn to that in-between place, where you can just drop the script, skip the extremes, and just have an honest conversation about AI and creativity. We also talk about instinct, when to trust it, when to challenge it, and why in a world that is flooded with confident sounding AI takes, your own instinct might just be the one thing worth listening to. You can find Matt's work on Instagram and TikTok at Matt Vandrick and on Substack at Curious and Inspired. Let's get into it. So normally people are terrified of being wrong, especially in an unpredictable future, right? So what they do is they just withdraw and don't put themselves on LinkedIn and Instagram and YouTube and Substack the way that you are. You're positioning yourself for designing systems for an unpredictable future. What made you decide that you were going to be brave enough to step forward and learn publicly?
Two reasons, and also I want to give credit. Like, we're both doing that, right? Like, you're very. So I'd love to hear what gave you sort of the spark as well. I would say two big things happened for me that made me want to do it. One was I actually saw a lot of other people doing it in that I don't really feel were exposed enough to what it is that they were actually talking about. You know, we live in a world where everybody has, you know, a microphone, and not everyone really has the training, the knowledge, the education, the intuition to speak from the soapboxes that they do. And so when I was seeing just the influx of people that had something to say about emerging technology or artificial intelligence specifically, I was like, hey, I have some thoughts here as well. And I actually have thoughts from within the industry that actually could come with a bit more basis. And so that in itself, I was like, all right, well, I want to kind of like make sure that I am a voice in this. And then two, with that voice, I thought to myself, I wanted to not be contrarian on purpose, but I do think that there are two sides to every coin, and that what I was hearing around AI was to like jump right in and start a business, or like it was too like kind of like band-aid.
Mhm.
It was very like AI right now, it's being positioned as very much like, oh, are you struggling with something, like just hop into AI and it'll do it for
Right.
you. And
Like problem, solution. Just buy this thing. You know how it goes, humans.
right, exactly. And while that is good, I didn't think that there was enough of the opposite side of, okay, yeah, we're jumping into these things, but what else should we be considering? What else is on the table, and how else is this going to be impacting us? That I want people to be armed with that information, and I wanted to just be one of the voices that could serve that purpose
Mhm.
as well.
When I came across your account online, I think it was on Instagram first, I get a lot of AI stuff in my algorithm. That's just how my feed operates now. And I saw your stuff and I thought, okay, this stuff is very bold. It is very brash. It is very eye-catching because you have that, design history too. So you know how to grab eyeballs. And so for me, I'm like, okay, it's just another thing that I need to ignore in the noise of everything else. And then I really started paying attention to what you were saying because you do say very nuanced things up front. You're showing two sides of the coin immediately, as opposed to other people who are very polarized and like, here's the point of view. This is what you have to think about it. But you're actually opening up a door for other people to think. So that caught my attention. First, it was the colors. Then it was what you were saying the second later that hooked me in.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, okay, this is worth following and this is worth looking at deeper and going into your Substack and reading your articles because there's a nuance here. And what you're introducing isn't just fear and a solution for how to solve it, but it's the nuance and it's the two sides of the coin. And it's just like these are points for you as a reader, as a viewer, as a consumer to think about. And maybe you have something to add to that conversation based on your own experience, which isn't something that you get from a lot of like online influencers. They're
Yeah.
just trying to, in effect, make you feel vulnerable and like valueless, and that your only value really comes from purchasing whatever content online.
Right.
You're actually empowering the viewer to come up with their own points of view. And I find that that's very helpful to the community. Where do you get that from? Where does that come from?
Yeah. First of all, thank you for acknowledging that and realizing that. And that is true. Like I do position the content and the thoughts in a way that is supposed to provoke thought in other people. There's sometimes where I kind of like I lean into what my perspective is for sure, but it never really ends
Mm-hmm.
on a singular clean answer. And that's because I really don't think that a lot of this has a singular clean answer. And so I don't really want people to land there, but I do want to empower people to ask the right questions. And I think that that does go back to both my design background and then also just the strategic lens on just society and the cultural zeitgeist in general and how much it informs design and what we build. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like I want people to ask better questions. Like actually one of my taglines on Curious and Inspired is like the future deserves better questions. And it really does, because I think
Mm-hmm.
that too much of it is framed as something that we should just go out and do. Where that comes from is like my desire to also be able to have better conversations as well. Because if I'm
Right.
kind of asking all of these questions, but no one else is, then it's harder to actually have a conversation where we're talking about similar things. And so what I want to do is
Mm-hmm.
arm the people with kind of the way that I analyze the world. If more people are analyzing the world more, then suddenly
Mm-hmm.
the baseline for communication and the baseline for knowledge rises. And that's what that will
Right.
be better for all of us, actually.
For you, what I think you're doing is it's open source thought about AI. You're not saying like buy this product, give into this thought. This is open source. And do you think that that's something? I mean, that's something that is a concept in technology, But what we don't talk about it as very much is open source within the artistic community or the creative community, where it relies on other people within that community adding their input to it to kind of evolve and expand the thinking and make it more diverse and not so polished and one-sided. But I think that you're kind of like borrowing from open source technology as a concept and giving it to creatives to say you're a part of this conversation too.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that, and I'm glad that you talked about kind of like the open source nature of it, because that does relate it down to the product itself. Like technology, what I really
Yeah.
want people to start acknowledging more about technology is the power of the technology is in the way that it changes the world. Like it's never just about the physical product or the physical applicate the
Mhm.
app or whatever it is. When I think about Instagram, I think about Instagram. Yes, Instagram is an app, but Instagram shifted culture. Instagram shifted the
Mhm.
way that we communicate, the way that we understand information, the way that we interact with each other and the world around us. That is not just like a piece of technology for technology's sake. There are sweeping effects to
Right.
that being to Instagram existing that
How we interconnect with one another, how we communicate, what we share.
exactly how we present
Yeah.
ourselves, even the way, even the
Yeah.
choices that we make around where we go. Like, I mean, we have an entire generation of people who go to restaurants to take photographs of the ambiance, right? Like, we
Hmm.
people, people line outside for Apollo Bagels in New York City because TikTok said that that's what they should do.
When I've been posting on TikTok, I'm showing certain parts of my home. I redecorate and change the way my home looks
Yeah,
so that it can be like a good TikTok background.
yeah,
The way that I live has had to change because of the way I present myself.
100%. We used to say at L'Oreal, because I was the one of the design leads in the luxury group at L'Oreal, and
Hmm.
we ran the e-commerce stores. And we used to say at L'Oreal, the front-facing camera changed the beauty industry. Like
Yeah.
was always a big deal, but like
Yeah.
suddenly when everyone was this close and they were presenting their face more, it was like, oh wait,
Hmm.
I have to like look good and I have to take care of my skin and I have to make sure that I
Right.
am almost 24/7 camera ready. The notion
Hmm.
shifted how people interacted with beauty products.
Yeah. Yeah, and the products changed.
Yeah.
So yeah, so not only is that technology influencing like our output, but it's actually influencing our just day-to-day lifestyles.
That is what I want people to acknowledge about AI. Those nuances about when we
Yeah.
talk about Instagram and the iPhone front facing camera, how those change the world. I don't want to think
Hmm.
about AI in a vacuum. I don't want people to think about AI
Right.
like, oh, now I can write a business plan easier. Like that is a micro interaction in a larger
Right.
of sweeping effects that's going to change the way
Hmm.
understand the world. And that's what I want people to
Hmm.
more. And I want people to lean into that understanding more to inform how they decide what they use and what they don't use.
So how do you do that when there's a lot of opinions out there that are not based in fact, that are mostly just based on fear or apprehension? A lot of creatives, they might be versed in digital technology like Photoshop or InDesign or After Effects or that sort of thing. Shout out Adobe. But I'm just wondering, how do you get creators who don't really know about, like, say Comfy UI or, working with an LLM or creating an agentic AI?
Mhm.
They're just like, you know what? It's evil. I don't want to do it. I
Yeah.
don't want to learn a new skill. I don't want it to change me. And you know what? I don't want to be a part of it at all. It's evil. So that's an opinion
Mhm.
that's not based on knowing how to use the technology and possibly not knowing like what's going on in copyright news and all of the developments that are happening in music and film and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
So how do you like combat that? How do you attract people to actually learning about this stuff before having an opinion?
Well, first, I think it's okay to have the opinion at first, but it is worth kind of like exposing yourself to more. Like I wouldn't, because I have a
Yeah.
couple friends actually. I have one friend that is adamantly against using LLMs. She's like, I don't want any part
Hmm.
of it. I don't like it. I don't like the environmental cost. I think that it's taking us in the wrong direction, and she doesn't use it at all. And I think that that's a stance that she took and that she's entitled to. What I would say about the people who maybe um, So I guess if the decision to not use it is rooted in and anchored in your intuition and how you feel, then I think I respect that. But if it's rooted in
Yeah.
fear and misunderstanding and like an unawareness of how to connect to it, then for those people, I would offer them to think about something in their workflow, their day to day life, their creative process that they feel they could use a bit more support on. And then
Okay.
see how AI could integrate just into that piece. That goes back to the way that people treat AI, like how some of the influencer folks talk about AI. It's like this end all be all, like look over the entire creative process. And actually, that part I don't
Right.
agree with. I think that I still want the thought to be owned by the human. I still want the basis and the reason for being to be owned by the human. And once you've said, okay, here's the problem I want to solve, here's the
Yeah.
gap in the market that I feel could be made better, that I feel is underserved, and I can serve them.
Mm-hmm.
You have that kind of like framed, then you can go to a tool and say, hey, I have this idea, but I'm unsure how to do this piece, or I'm unsure about
Right.
what the monetization strategy for something like this would be. I'm unsure about
Yeah.
who my audience for this may be, but I have the root of it.
Yeah.
If you have a root,
Yeah.
then you can go to the tools to assist you. I think that people who perhaps don't know how to engage with AI should think about where they need assistance and then
Yep.
lean just into that one piece and see how it does.
Yeah. So how do they do that? So now they know that they have a certain voice or a vision or a project that they want to work on,
Yeah.
and they think, I think an AI tool could help me out with that. What's the next step for learning how to use that tool?
I think learning by usage is kind of the best.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that people need to go take a course necessarily. I mean, you can like there's some things on
Mm-hmm.
YouTube that you can do. I would lean into the creator community for this aspect. There are people that say a lot about
Yeah.
those things. If you're and also depends on the industry, right? Like I think it
Mm-hmm.
depends on what angle you're coming from, but I think
Mm-hmm.
opening up one of the big five or big three that there are, like go to open chat GPT, open Claude, open Gemini,
Mm-hmm.
and start talking to it.
Do you feel like there's gatekeeping in the AI creative community in terms of like learning new technology and new software? Is there some sort of like a protectionism there?
I think we're seeing a little bit of it. I think we'll see pockets of it. For example, if someone, I remember earlier on, like if someone was able to get a certain type of image generation on Midjourney, for example, like they may not give you
Mm-hmm.
the exact prompt that got that result. Like they may kind of guide
Right.
it, but they may not necessarily share, the steps it took to get that kind of result. I see some of that happening, yeah. But some of it though, I think is okay because then it forces you to then use the tool for what you want to use the tool for and not
Mm-hmm.
do this like carbon copy thing. Because what is going to happen is we're going to start to, especially from the creative community and the creative lens, we're going to start to see people that have a discerning eye are going to start
Mm-hmm.
like, you didn't do that. Like that didn't, you know what I'm saying? Like that didn't come from you. If someone who was never a photographer is like now has these like stunning, like whatever landscape port, it's like, all right, where is this coming from? Like, I think that you can kind of tell
Right.
if there's something that you want to know, the information is out there, or you can be the pioneer to kind of discover a new angle of it on your own.
Right. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So the gatekeeping is a little cruel in that like people aren't really sharing information, but it also kind of helps innovation and it helps people challenge themselves to come up with new technologies or new processes for working with the tech. Because yeah, like if you're using someone else's prompt, you're solving their problem and each creative has their own unique problem to
Right.
solve.
Right.
What's so fascinating with AI is that it's a tool and its purpose is evolving too. It's developing. So, what it's actually being used for is going to change as different people use it for different reasons, and it will start to just kind of manifest that functionality. So you can't just copy somebody else's project and their process and result. You really do have to kind of start with your own.
Yeah.
Do you think that the creative community on the flip side is supportive? Like, where do you go for support and say conversation about how to use an AI tool if you're stumped on something?
Well, here's what I'll say. I don't really find myself stumped with the tooling. I find myself
Okay.
like in search for um different perspectives and different approaches. Tech with X is fantastic. Tech with X on Instagram, creator and actually technologist, really. Like I mean, she creates content, but really, really savvy, really, really smart, really, really good pulse on the culture.
Mm.
Came up through tech, worked at Google, had some stops at other places. Now is in kind of, I think, the nonprofit world. Definitely go look her up. She's fantastic. Um,
Okay.
and so she like is good at like provoking thought in her work, using the technology for good. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, like when I like from a tool, like say if it's like, oh, how do I use AI to do X? Just hop on Google, hop on YouTube, and there's someone that's talking about it
Hmm.
for sure.
But like people do go to the internet for like that quick hit information. They're
Yeah,
trying to do a function, they're
right.
trying to learn about a software. And then they get kind of lost in that like sauce of like, oh, there's so many different things. And for me, I hate when I watch like 4 minutes of intro and they haven't gotten to the point
Mhm.
yet. And right, like it's very time consuming and frustrating sometimes. And then in the end, they didn't even answer the question that you wanted to ask. And it's very difficult to find that. So what do you think is the best way for creators to navigate that and to trust that who's offering the advice is a trustworthy source?
Yeah. Um, there's actually not like a 100% way, like sure shot to
Yeah.
be able to do that. And I think that that's also something that we need to acknowledge within the community. Everything is moving literally as like we're building the ship as it's flying. And so you even see, I mean,
Yeah.
there'll be CEOs that come on their channels and be like, yeah, we actually don't know what's about to happen a month from now. Like we don't know
Hmm.
what this tool is actually going to
Yeah.
do in the next year. Like even the people that are making it don't know. And so I think
Hmm.
for the people that are looking for all the answers, like stop. Like I think the way to stay on top of it is to get into the tools and start to discover
Hmm.
where some of the gaps may be of what you feel is maybe missing, or there's a facet of it of how it could be used that is under acknowledged, and then
Yeah.
like become almost like a voice of your own and have your own perspective. I think that
Hmm.
anything, most things on the internet are going to be somewhat speculative when it comes to AI because of the nature of the fact that so much about it is very unknown. I also
Right.
split it in half in terms of, because there's the actual nuts and bolts and the like how the
Hmm.
sausage is made type expertise. There
Hmm.
are like the technologists and the people that are very, very informed on machine learning and like how an LLM actually works. That type of stuff. Like there is obviously there's science underneath it. The place where the most finite kind of uh true anchored knowledge is around artificial intelligence is going to be more in the the mechanics of how it works and how it was built and where it started, because that's science
Hmm.
and technology and machinery and all that stuff. When it comes to the capabilities and the societal impact and the shifts in behavior and the shifts in business and all of that, there aren't
Yeah.
hard answers for that part of it because we're living it in real time.
Yeah. Okay, so both of us have our learning in parallel, and we both have similar conclusions in that some things you just don't know, like what you said, socioeconomic impact, job loss, the way we communicate, what we create, what the art or anything that we make out of this looks like or sounds like or
Mhm.
feels like or smells like in the end. We don't know. And that's something that I've seen in your content is you came to the conclusion that it's okay to say we don't know, and that's something that I gravitate towards when I interview people on the podcast or when I'm reading their stuff. Like, if you can betray a little bit that you don't know something and you don't have an opinion on that because you don't have enough information yet, or we just collectively don't have that information. For me, I'm drawn to a content creator who can say that, who can just reveal a little bit of a crack or vulnerability
Yeah.
in their knowledge.
Yeah.
So, but even the technologists who are making AI products and softwares, they also say they don't know. Like you said, oh, the only thing that we can really kind of put our stakes on is how the technology works, right? And that's true. But you, even those folks, some of them are like, you know what, we don't know how
Yeah.
it did this, but it did it, and
Mhm.
maybe it'll do it again or not. We
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that on the internet is actually I wouldn't call it a trend yet, but it's a phenomenon that you've noticed and I've noticed is starting to happen with people when they're talking about AI.
Yeah.
We actually don't know. And when somebody says they don't know something or that there's a flip side to something, that's when I start listening because I feel like they're actually trustworthy now.
100%. Yes. Acknowledging that you don't know is a
Hmm.
sign of trust, but then also acknowledging that it isn't AI is not going to be the singular solution for everything. Whenever someone comes across
Yeah.
like you got to use AI because that's the way, and it's like
Yes.
you do, don't get me wrong. AI is
Hmm.
probably in our lifetime second to probably only the invention of the internet in and of itself. In this
Right.
generation, second to only the internet itself, AI is going to be the thing that changes the entire world in ways that we've never seen before. That much is true.
Hmm.
So your ability to
Hmm.
connect to it and your ability to understand your way around it is going to be critical for being able to be a functioning member of society. That much is without question.
Sure. Yeah.
However,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that just because you understand it and you understand how it's integrated into society doesn't mean that it's all of society. And I think that there's a lot of people
Right.
that are kind of making the mistake of like anything that is anything that is tactical or hands-on or historic is going to be obliterated. And that is the thing that I don't agree with fundamentally. I think that, and even we're in that reel that I was talking about, people having opinions, I think that
Hmm.
we're going to see, since so many people on the internet do have opinions, some of them are substantiated and rooted in basis, some are not. What we're going to see is
Hmm.
thirst for real information. I think people that do have kind of like the old way of acquiring knowledge, people who have like read a book, like think about in 30 years, like there will be a generation of people who have never read a physical book ever. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like when you think
Hmm.
about that as a notion, think about the people who are going to be essentially the oracles of society because they were the people who learned things like at the root, like at the source.
Hmm.
They learn from the old way of understanding information and the things that they,
Hmm.
the way that they express that expertise, um, I think is going to endure, and that's actually going to be what we end up having a desire and a craving to return to. I think about going back to design quickly, like even if you think about the typesetter or the calligrapher, right? Like, yeah, we
Yeah.
have like I remember when everything went digital. Well, I don't remember because I wasn't there, but when things went digital, they thought like, wow, the printing press and all that stuff like that. And that is true. But
Hmm.
think about when someone is having an anniversary or a wedding. What do they want? They want the hand. No, I want hand calligraphy. I want tactile, right? When you talk about in the fashion industry, right? Like that wedding dress, they don't want like the machine. Like they want the hand beaded, handcrafted. Like ateliers, craftspeople, experts, people that understand the
Hmm.
fundamentals of craft. But what I want people to remember fundamentally is that regardless of what AI does end up changing about the world, there will never
Hmm.
not be a craving and a thirst for hands-on expertise. They're going to be what's lacking in the very near future. They're going to be the ones that are the most desired. And I believe that they're going to be the hardest to find as well because they may be a little bit more off the grid than we expect.
Hmm. And also their materials might not be as available. Like me
Right.
coming from a photography background, I was around when it was the transition from film to digital. And there's a lot of film you can't get anymore. You can't, the chemistry doesn't exist to process certain film.
See?
Or if it's around, it's extremely expensive and you have to get it from a different country. Um, yeah, it's not just the individuals, but it's the industries and the manufacturing to create those craft
Yeah.
products, you know?
Yeah.
It really does require preservation
Hmm.
in a really intentional way.
Preservation. And that even of itself, that preservation in and of itself, I think is even at risk when we think about what everyone's kind
Yeah.
of optimizing for today, right?
Hmm.
Even if you think, if we go back again to like how products change our behavior, think about Snapchat, Insta Story, like the younger generation, like Gen Alpha is like, it's like, oh, it happened and it's gone, and like I don't even remember it. It's like, what? Oh, that happened yesterday. Like it literally disappeared. Like it happened yesterday and
Yeah.
it no longer exists in their,
Yeah.
and even that is a notion that
Yeah.
changes their approach to what they hold dear, what they hold close, what they kind of um acknowledge as worthwhile or meaningful. So,
That's an interesting thought. I have a Gen Alpha kid. He's almost 9.
okay.
He's my social media manager. He knows
I
all
couldn't
about
imagine
it
it.
and he watches. Why not?
Right.
Well, he's pretty good at it, if you ask me.
I'm sure.
And but yeah, it's a different mindset. And I think a lot of us are trying to build for a future that we're not even going to be there for. And we can't really say because we're basing it on our past experience, which
Right.
is irrelevant 20 years from now, completely
Yeah.
irrelevant.
Yeah.
And, you know, when we have opinions and we have thoughts that are not based on fact, a lot of the times, like to be fair, the facts just aren't even out there. It's like we don't really know if it's better to be up on the algorithm or lower on the algorithm, if it matters to have likes and shares,
Mhm.
or if, you know, you should write a book instead or get a blimp. Like we just don't really know.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, what do, how do opinions just give people peace of mind just to know I don't care what the facts are, but I'm standing to this opinion and this is what I'm just going to keep.
Yeah. I mean, that's the unfortunate truth around, I mean, even without technology, that's almost like human nature, right? Like we do lean in,
Yeah.
bring us comfort. We lean into things that feel the most familiar, and the most
Yeah.
safe. Um, and so,
Yeah, because the facts don't exist. And not only that, I mean, there has always been talk of news being biased or, you know, anthropological surveys being just racist nonsense.
yeah,
And, you know, we're looking at it now in a postmodernist
right,
lens and
right.
stuff. So, you know, a lot of this stuff in the dusty books in the libraries, we say is just not factual, we can't trust. And of course, all the deep fake, you know, slop we're seeing on the internet now,
Yeah.
okay, we certainly cannot trust that either. News does not exist in the authoritative way that it did. It just doesn't even, just there's not as many news sites. They're not as frequent.
Yeah.
They're not on our feeds, especially not in Canada. They're banned from our feeds. So, like, where are the facts? I have to go to YouTube and find an influencer that
Yeah.
I vibe with. Like, where are the facts? And so I could understand somebody just being like, you know what? Forget facts. Like, I go with my gut now.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's a very scary kind of statement to make and live by.
Yeah. I think that it is very scary, but it does force people to, I think with the right intentions, your gut can sometimes be what's best anyway, right? Like
Okay.
that I do seriously, because if you
Okay.
think about the fact that like, I mean, if you can't trust what's out there, or if you don't trust what's out there, then it does mean a return to your instincts, a return to community, a return to offline engagements with real human beings,
Mm.
cultivating a real, genuine network of safe people that you can rely on. Like, there's elements of that that actually I do think society could benefit from. Perhaps we've become over reliant on technology in a lot of ways. And I say this as a technologist, I say this as a designer, as
Right.
a provocateur. Even myself is like, I want people to be offline more. I do. I want people
Yeah.
to cultivate more real life relationships. I want people to
Mhm.
not make every decision one that's rooted in figuring out how to monetize it, right? Like it doesn't always have to
Right.
be about that. And
Yeah.
I want more people to start to incorporate that naturally into their lives. When you were talking earlier about like how do people know like the truth about the algorithm and how to like where's the like those types of questions, I always if someone has questions like that, I it brings me back to then asking them what their intentions are. What are they
Right.
actually looking for with the answer to that question? And whatever that question may be. And I think that if every question is somehow rooted in like a business case, I challenge people to discover emerging technology in ways that really could just be because you enjoy it. Like it could also just be because it's delightful. Because I was able to create something that even you're talking about your kid, like I made this thing on AI and it made my kid laugh. Like that
Mm-hmm.
so okay. Like it doesn't have to be,
Mm-hmm.
churn out 50 spreadsheets with a robot or like,
Right.
make a month's worth of content so you don't have to. It's like, d why? Why is that the primary thing? Like it doesn't always have to be about productivity.
Yeah, because as you said earlier, it's going to have such great impacts on our society and our culture that's not necessarily just industry and commercial and professional. So much of AI conversation is about efficiency and
Yeah.
getting more work and getting a job and not losing your job.
Yeah.
And that, yeah, that does give it a bit of a kind of like just like a taint. It's like sometimes I get fatigue. I'm like, I don't want to know about this
Yeah.
anymore. It's like, just give me a break. But when you think about it as like, yeah, integrating it into your life the way that we did like social media and Instagram and that sort of thing before it actually did become commercialized.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is going to have huge impact. And that could we use it in ways that connect in that way that make us more, just give us more valuable experiences in life
Exactly.
outside of work.
Exactly.
So going back to the idea of instinct and facts out there that can be untrustworthy or just kind of like non-facts and misinformation and that sort of thing. And you're saying, you know what, maybe instinct isn't such a bad thing because, it could be a culmination of all of the different things that we're seeing or experiencing online about AI, or even just tangentially about AI, just about creativity in general, how artists work.
Mhm.
And if we kind of just absorb a multitude of different experiences and different information, um, maybe then we could rely on our instinct because it is based on fact, but not the fact that we're consciously seeking, because a lot of that is filtered through professional AI function.
Mhm. Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I might have to reconceptualize the purpose of this podcast because I was trying to tell people we need to not just have like, uneducated opinions. We need to think about facts, but actually maybe it is a good idea to let your instinct drive you sometimes and trust that you are also traveling, talking to different kinds of people, reading and consuming different kinds of content from different points of view, and not necessarily only about AI.
Correct.
That's one thing. Like, you don't have to learn about AI specifically to become more knowledgeable and have better insights about AI. Oftentimes, you can go look at a bonfire for, like a weekend, and that might teach you something about AI more than like any YouTube channel could.
I think that the lived experience can help you further refine who you are and what it is that
Hmm.
you want to integrate with
Yeah.
for, right? Like you don't
Yeah.
your reasons for using AI don't have to be what the people on the internet are saying you should use AI for. Maybe you do integrate it
Yeah.
specifically into your business, but maybe you use it for
Hmm.
something else. Like it really
Hmm.
just I mean,
Hmm.
I've seen, and I don't know if I agree, and going on opinions, I don't know if I agree with this fully, but I saw, there's lots of threads talking about people using ChatGPT as a therapist. Like they find themselves
Yeah,
venting to it, right? Like they're, and that comes with its own kind of like cost and risk and things like
for
that. Like I don't
sure.
think that I recommend
Yeah.
a machine over a
Yeah.
professional opinion, but people are doing it, is what I'm saying. And so I think that
Mhm.
what
Mhm.
I want people to do is the best way to figure out how to integrate with technology and emerging technology is to understand yourself and what you feel your gaps are. Do not rely on
Mhm.
technology for technology's sake. I think that you should first get
Mhm.
real about the problems that you want to solve, get real about the things in your own life that you feel you could be best supported by, and then discover the ways that AI can integrate with that. I think just kind of, unless you work in the industry, like having a blanket, all-knowing knowledge of every little update in the AI industry, I think that it can be overwhelming for the average person and also unnecessary. Cut a slice, a very intentional slice that you feel you are the most empowered by or delighted by, and lean into those threads and follow those tracks.
Is that what you feel that you do? And are you always looking at the same slice or do you look at different slices?
I feel like working in industry plus always kind of like being tapped into the faucets of the news, it's a little overwhelming. And so yes, I try to slice it. How I slice it is some of it is a little bit reactive. The things I lean into are the things that probably connect more with my day-to-day job and the things that I need to be building and knowing for the industry that I proactively try to lean into. So specifically around like what are the newer design tools, like when it comes to like user experience design, things that may be happening with Figma and Framer and the different tools and how they're incorporating AI and even Claude and some of these and like Lovable, some of the kind of like the AI tools that you build a website from a prompt, those types of creative tools that I know are going to directly impact the way that me and my team works very proactively. Everything else, I kind of tend to just, it'll either be a reaction to something I saw, um, or just something that I feel like someone is misrepresenting or only showing one side of. Examples of that, some of the inspiration for the opinion reel that I did, I was like, people are talking too much and I need to like counteract this. When I talk about even like the gendered machines one, like that was a thought that came to me out of nowhere when I was thinking about like, why does AI always take on a certain persona? Like that was just something provocative that I was curious about. Why I presumed that the creators think that like a woman's voice is naturally more supportive, more kind of like I'm here to help you, even though it's a machine. And so I was just questioning some of that stuff.
That's really interesting.
Mhm.
But let me just get on that for a second. That is really interesting. And it is something that informs people's opinions. Like I said, they're just through osmosis, they're just getting the scent, they're just getting vibe about AI because it is this woman's voice. Maybe that's like just kind of changing the way that their perspective on AI. Maybe some people are more amenable to it, or maybe feel mistrusting of it. They know that that voice is trying to calm them and appease them, or something like that. So without researching AI the way that you do, learning about the technology, that sort of thing, but just the vibes of the AI that they are exposed to, even inadvertently through Alexa or Siri or what have you,
Mhm.
it creates an opinion
It
they didn't even look for.
Yeah, it creates even if it doesn't go as far as to form into an actual opinion, it definitely
Mhm.
is a visceral sort of internal reaction to what it is that you're experiencing.
And the way it's marketed as like magic, like this kind of sparkle, it's very difficult for most people to understand how these things work. And yeah, that does create a kind of like mistrust. It's never marketed as like some sort of granola situation that's easy for people to understand and integrate into their lives. Like it is quite a kind of shiny, new, somewhat scary technology. And that's the way it's marketed. And that impacts the way that people do it. Like it's not like a kind of Ben and Jerry style tie dye. Like it's all like, like grassroots and don't worry, it's going to be fine. Like at all. It's even by the companies who want you to buy their stuff, still they kind of make it feel quite intimidating.
Do they? I I don't think, but the
I
thing
think
is, I
so.
don't think that that's their
You don't think so?
intention. I don't think they want it to be
Oh, really?
at all. I think that they want it to feel like it's here to help you. And don't be afraid. Like it's just
Yeah.
I'm here whenever
I
you need
think I'm
me.
I think I'm an auto cynic. So anytime someone approaches me with that voice, I'm like,
You're right. It can be quite scary. Okay, I understand what you're saying. It's almost just like, why are you here? Why are you here? Yeah, not good.
It's just me or my generation. I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, the way that I was exposed, I'm like a kind of elder millennial, kind of like
Yeah.
adjacent Gen Xer. And I have a lot of like kind of mistrust of technology. And I'm warming up to this AI thing. I'm embracing it
Yeah.
in a way. I'm embracing learning about it,
Mhm.
and I feel like I'm doing that um almost in conflict with a lot of AI marketing that just wants me to use it without thinking about
Mhm.
it.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's what I think. You need more human style people,
Right.
I guess,
Yes.
who are just figuring it out in real time with everyone else and making mistakes and tripping up, but doing the cringe.
Mhm.
And because nobody else wants to do it because it's terrifying. Because what if, God forbid, 20 years from now, like the Terminators do take over and we have these podcasts about how great it was? Like, oh no. like,
That's hilarious.
I that would suck, like for sure. But I'm hoping that I can shed a little bit of light on it. So at least if that did happen, I did my piece in documenting like how we got there, and learning about it rather than just hiding. Like at least I know a little bit about why that happened.
You basically just wrote like a pass at a movie, right? Like you literally just described like like podcaster chronicles the path toward robot takeover is like hilarious.
Oh yeah, it'll happen. I mean, there's a lot of us, and a lot of us are to blame. We come out with well, I mean, we don't have opinions. We have like thoughts that we put out there and engage people with, and
Yeah.
say these are nuances. These are things we're thinking about. Maybe they're right. Maybe they're wrong. We don't come out with opinion, but we do have these, and so in a way, we're kind of guarded from the people who just did step out and say we have opinions. And I mean, I think that they're doing it because it's a money getter, right? I mean, if you
Right.
scare people and you say, I have the solution, I have the opinion, buy this thing, they made their cash. So when the robots come, they're cashing the checks and laughing a little bit. Um, you know, we're still waiting for those checks because the algorithm doesn't favor nuance, right? In a lot of
Right.
ways, we didn't sign up for massive followings and popularities.
Mhm.
We signed up for trust,
Yep.
right? We signed up for authenticity
Yeah.
more than anything else.
Yeah. I don't chase the algorithm at all. I do
Yeah.
consider maybe just like time of day I post because I want people that are while they're using the app to have the best chance of seeing it. But I don't do things based on what the number one, and this is maybe just a life lesson even beyond AI. Like never chase something that is fleeting. Like don't chase something that's a moving target. Like the algorithm, if you want to chase the
Hmm.
algorithm today, guess what? On Tuesday afternoon, it's going to be headed in a different direction. Like who has the time?
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
certainly do not. And so I don't recommend
Hmm.
anyone doing that. I think that you should,
Yeah.
shoot from the hip. But then again, it also goes back to even just the top of the combo of like, what are you in it for? Right? Like I think that there are people,
Yeah.
there are influencers on there that are gonna tell you advice about chasing the algorithm and or even like having a hook and make sure your hook is good. And that's because
Hmm.
these are people who are trying to get you to create content with the purpose of monetizing it and trying to make bucks. If that is what
That's
you're
right.
doing, then there is a rhyme or reason to successfully making money on social media. There is a science to
Hmm.
that, and I think that that's what you should follow those people to get that understanding. I am creating things because I want to provoke thought in people and I want people to
Yeah.
think in ways that perhaps they aren't. And uh, I believe that the right people, you're right, kind of, depending on what you're in it for, your circle of trust and your circle of followers and your supporters the vibration will bring them to you. I mean, that sounds
Hmm.
kind of like fluffy. Um, And of course, you do have to, make sure you're posting consistently and things like that. There are certain quote rules, but the fundamentals of what
Hmm.
I do is really just about speaking from the gut and
Yeah.
understanding my own perspective on the news of the week or the news of the day or things that I feel are reaching a fever pitch in the zeitgeist, trying to understand, like absorbing that internally, understanding if I have my own stance on it. If
Yeah.
stance that I do form, is there a lens or a glimmer within it that is unspoken, and how to wear that out in a way that is kind of captivating and also maybe slightly entertaining. And that's kind of how I do it, and I think that's what I'll continue to do. That's my goal. It seems like that's your goal as well, which I think they need more folks like what you're doing, so bravo to
Hmm.
this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's for me, I've learned that yes, it's a lot of pressure to learn and be vulnerable in real time out in public, but I'm like vivacious. I care about life. I care about meeting people, talking about them.
Yeah.
So I'm like vivacious and vulnerable at the same
Yeah.
time. It's a weird combo, but that
It's a
is
good one
me.
though.
But it's like it serves people, and I know that because I get like messages on my Apple Watch like, I listen to your podcast, it's great, from somebody I don't even know, and it like just feels so good to just get that in the middle of the day randomly. But it also serves me so much, like just developing my thought. It's a putting out my podcast every Tuesday and putting out the newsletter with like quick hit news articles every Thursday. I have to read them. I have to write about them. I have to create art about them. I have to think about them. Like it makes me a much better person, and a better expert in this field to do this. It's not just a service for other people, but it serves me very much too. And in that way, it is a creative venture. We're
Absolutely.
doing it because it helps us develop.
Yeah. It's expression. And it also
Hmm.
just get no different than, an author, they have a story inside of them, and they write it and they take time and they get it out. Like there's some people who, even make music. Some people say they don't even listen to their own music, right? Like they just
Yeah.
had to like express. And like once that expression is
Hmm.
out, like it goes and it does and it becomes what it does for the people. I tend to think that, and I believe that I am a vessel most of the time for ideas that I feel need to be said to the world. Sometimes
Yeah.
spark of something, and it's like I won't be able to let it go. It's like you haven't said that to the world yet. Like please, like put that into some format and get it out. And then I'll notice that those
That's
messages
interesting.
that feel very much like almost like I'm being forced to kind of like I won't be settled unless I say it, until I say it. Those are the ones
Wow.
get the most traction, because like there was an ear that was waiting for that message, and I am just one of the people who are like whose job it is to kind of push that message out. That's the way that I also take on the responsibility for it too. I don't
That's
It all doesn't come from me actually fully.
right.
Yeah.
Well, that's really interesting that you have this like urge and this urgency to say a thing to
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
I can't say that for myself, although I might start tapping into that because I might suppress it because I'm like, I don't have time to do that TikTok right now.
Yeah.
But I might have to. But
Johnny
that
Brown.
is a really, yeah, I do. I have like so many and I
Okay.
don't do them. And it's,
You should.
and maybe now I have a little more time, I will. But you have definitely that like inclination, that spark where you think about it and you do it right away. And for me it's more like long term. I'm not going to write a long thing about it. I'm going to interview someone about it. Like it's just, but that might just be procrastinating, I don't know. But you do have these thoughts, these itches that you get out there, and that shows because when I see your stuff, there is a certain urgency to it.
Mhm.
And it's not the same kind of urgency that other influencers are doing where it's like, you're already behind, you're going to do this. It's an urgency that comes from yourself
Yeah.
that you're sharing with us. You're like, I got to say this. And it is pretty miraculous how the algorithm, in all of its nonsense, taps into that somehow. You're like, oh, I also had like a viral TikTok that's like, I just need to get it out,
Uh-huh.
and it went viral. And
Yeah.
I'm like, how does it know that? Like that I need this intrinsic thing that I needed to bust out, and it actually did resonate. So that you're tapping into like your instinct for that
It was-
is very cool. And it comes across like the algorithm recognizes it, but we recognize it too when we see it. This guy really does care. He cares so much that he's actually willing to give opposing point of views, nuanced point of views, because he just wants to get this thought out there that might not be completely gelling with a thought he had like 2 months ago.
Right.
But that's growth.
Yeah.
That's human. That's how you know you're not an AI avatar. Like you're
Exactly.
a real dude, right?
Exactly.
Like, yeah, like I mentioned this before, you're like that older brother who is really cool and is always like running around and we never quite get. And then you kind of sit down and you're like, hey, listen, this is what's been going on. This is what mom and dad are doing. This is what's going on in school. Like, this is what you need to know. And then he like leaves and everyone's
Sure.
like, wow, your brother's so cool.
Thank you. No, I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
that's my,
That's dope.
but like that you share that with us is it's really inspiring because it gives other people the motivation to think, oh, I can do it too, right?
I
I
would,
can think about AI
yeah.
publicly and do the thing also.
I love that. And if that is,
Right?
thank you for sharing that. And that would be, that is one of the reasons why I do it. So if that is actually resonating and coming
Mhm.
across and you're getting that, then
Mhm.
that's the best thing I've heard this week. Thank you.
Totally. And I
Yeah.
think it's going to get across to a lot of other people too. Like, we need to not be afraid to talk about AI and be wrong and do cringe and ask questions and not know.
Yeah.
We need to not be afraid to do it because there's so many people pretending to be polished.
Right.
LinkedIn is just like a junk heap
Yeah.
of lies
Yeah.
a lot of the time.
Yeah. LinkedIn is it corporate. In fact, LinkedIn, I feel like is one of the biggest victims of like everything on LinkedIn sounds written by AI. Like all of it. Like everybody's post
A lot of it
so
is.
corporate. I'm so
Yeah.
proud to announce. It's like, shut up.
Yeah. It's very like off-putting and the worst thing about it is that it makes people think that we have to be that way to talk about AI. And this is our AI to talk about in our way too,
Yes.
right? And if
Yes.
that means doing it with this growth mindset that can be destructive, that can be wrong, that can change its mind, that
Mhm.
can reemerge, that
Yeah.
can contradict, that so be it. That's how we figure things out and we do it together and we just support each other through that.
Yeah. That's how we figure it out.
Yeah.
But then that's also how we become, because I also want people to feel empowered to understand that they can help dictate the future. Like one of my actually
Hmm.
posts was about like nothing is inevitable. Like nothing that is being built right now, like the future is not inevitable. Like I think that there's a certain
Yeah.
core of the AI community that's like, well, this is gonna happen anyway, and there's nothing that we can do about it. And it's like, no, but us as consumers can decide to engage in certain ways and not
Mm-hmm.
in other ways. And if we
Mm-hmm.
collectively said, actually, we don't want any of the generative stuff because I don't like how it's using likenesses and it's creating a deep fake environment that we don't want in the world. And we actively
Mm-hmm.
said we're not going to do that, then we could do, you know what I mean? Like it's not all
Mm-hmm.
up to the technology that's available. It's also like our conviction in what it is that we're going to say we're going to engage with and what we're not going to engage with. That does
Yeah.
require a certain level of alignment and collective community, but
Totally.
I don't want people to lose sight of their own autonomy. But that autonomy
Mm-hmm.
should be based again, going back to who you are as an individual and what you want out of it. And just having more control. Like none of this is happening. Some of it is happening to us, I will say. Like some of it is, most of it is happening to us in terms of
Mm-hmm.
the way the tools are taking over, society, the way that they're integrating it into things that perhaps we didn't ask for it to be integrated into. That type of stuff
Mm-hmm.
seems to be happening regardless.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
our own adoption of it, there's a sliver of that is still up to us.
Yeah. We may not be able to collectively change policy tomorrow,
Right.
right? But if we all follow our instinct and our inner guides of what we want AI to do for us, and
Right.
we start using it like responsibly and thoughtfully in that way, over time,
Yeah.
it is going to just naturally progress and policy will change as more creatives start using AI for this and not for this, or demanding this and not demanding that. Like, I think that over time, just like invisibly, it will be a very powerful change.
Yeah. And
But it requires following the inner roadmap for sure and not getting lost in the sauce of thinking that you need to jump on the AI that other people are doing.
correct. You don't have to jump onto
Yeah.
anything just because other people are. And then also, like, if you go back to fundamentals of even like business, right? Like, say if you own like a clothing store, say if there's like a T-shirt that you felt was the best thing, like it's the best T-shirt I own, and everybody's gonna buy it. The market will tell you whether that T-shirt
Yeah.
matters or not. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you may like it,
Yeah.
but everyone hates it. So they put it out, but
Hmm.
like no one bought it. So please don't make any more. That's the same thing
Hmm.
when people are making digital products.
Hmm.
If when you know when Instagram released IG stories, right?
Hmm.
If we never used it, they would be like, well, people actually hate that. So we're taking it out. Like no one
Yeah.
uses it. So
They would get rid of it.
it
I'm
would
sure there have been all sorts of things like that that we just don't even acknowledge anymore because we forget
as
about
we
it.
forget about it. Right. And so recognize that power, apply it to all technology that you're exposed to, and use your usage of expression of what you agree with and what you don't agree with.
But it really requires authenticity. And it's very difficult in a world where people are trying to sway you
Yeah.
this way and that way. And critical thinking is kind of at a
Yeah.
low historically.
It's also
It's hard. And
in a world where everyone is kind of forced to try to figure out how they're going to pay their rent, right? Like I think it's
yeah,
also
there's a lot of
societal
fear.
too because actually had to catch myself, and I was like, because I had a reaction one like maybe in the recent past, I was just kind of just like, why does everybody want to be a content creator? And like everybody's just trying to make a quick buck, and I mean, the flip side, people need a quick buck. Maybe there are people who like if the
Yeah.
job market is crazy and they feel like creating content is their pathway to a life that they can take care of themselves and their family. Like, like the behavior is never isolated. And so, on one hand, everything is super monetized. Everyone has a goal of like making money in some way that they can.
Hmm.
Even that is a result of a society that has made it harder to flourish just by, working a normal 9 to 5. The opportunities are becoming more dire. Hence, we see this kind of influx of like people wanting to use content to satisfy that. For the folks listening, like even that's an example of how I had to change my perception on something. Because at first I was like, there are too many influencers. Like, why? Like, knock it off.
Hmm.
Everybody doesn't have to be an influencer. And then I'm like, well, I mean, maybe they lost their job, or maybe they like don't have, or maybe they degree that they had is in a field that isn't as lucrative as it
Hmm.
would be. And like there's always
Hmm.
on the story, and even that acknowledgement
Hmm.
that I am actively doing a better job of, and like leaning into the world, leaning into the people, acknowledging everyone's different sort of where they may be in life, the things that inform the decisions they make, even if one of those decisions
Hmm.
is their how much they've leaned into AI, maybe that even may be driven by things outside of just what we see. So
A lot of people's use of AI is hope for a
could
future
be.
that, they were kind of gate kept from.
Yeah. And access
An
and
idea of a.
the
Hmm.
democratization of creation. And, there are very empowering things about it as well.
So, have you gotten feedback from friends or people that are mostly appreciative of what you do, or do you get like some opinions that are like kind of
People get into it. Like I think people
Yeah.
enjoy my perspectives. They actually come to me
Hmm.
for help too. They're like, how do I do this? Or I'm trying to do that, or
Yeah.
which tool should I use? So I feel like I'm a little bit of a resource for folks. Sometimes that could be exhausting, but it's all good. Yeah, no,
Hmm.
I I don't think that I've gotten necessarily any kind of like contrarian things about as I
Okay.
work in the industry. I've never gotten anything that felt condemning, but I mean, who knows? It's still early on yet, right? We'll see how it goes.
Maybe because you're nuanced, you don't get it as much. And I think people that have opinions,
Mhm.
right, that put out like a strong polarizing view, they will get very much in either direction back at them.
Yeah.
Yeah. think it's cool. I'm so grateful that you've come on the podcast, and I love the immediacy of finding somebody online, just being able to chat with them. Like, you're in Brooklyn, I'm in Toronto, and we're able to have this chat like just like buds, you know?
Yeah.
And I really, really appreciate that, because
I
we come from, you know, we're trying to do similar things, you know, and there's a parallel between what we're doing, but we do have different approaches. We have different points of view. We have different backgrounds. But the fact that, you know, social media and AI kind of brought us together because we care about our work, we care about creativity, we care about our communities, and we
Yes.
care about like how society's evolving in the future.
Yeah. 100%. I
Yeah.
am super grateful to have come on. I think this will last. And I appreciate, yeah, even just the ping initially. This is good, and I think the work you're doing is super important.
Thank you.
Be here. You had some really dope people on here, so to be now amongst them, I think is an honor.
Thank you. I learn in real time with experts and I share it with other people. And like, I feel so fortunate to be able to do that. The drive to do it,
Yeah,
it gives me more energy to keep it going too.
yeah,
And every conversation I have just inspires me to have another one. And I feel like the grain is like growing these roots and connecting people in all of these different ways. And just to see you doing it in your way, in such a powerful way, yeah, it's inspiring. So thank you so much.
thank
I
you.
cannot thank you enough. And I hope that we can like continue this conversation.
Yeah,
I feel like maybe our paths will continue to intertwine.
I'm sure they will. 100%.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment. It really helps the grain grow, reaching more creatives across the globe and inviting them to join the conversation. To learn more about the grain, head to thegrain.ai, and to reach me directly, please send an email to Ronit, that's RONIT, at thegrain.ai. Because we need to start talking about the pleasure and the peril of AI and the future of creativity. And we need to do it now.